Are you not feeling real at the moment? You don't really feel like your true self. Well, today I'm going to talk about the power of your truth for your confidence. And if you stay until the end, I have an extra point for you then as well. Before we dive in, just to mention that if you want to keep up to date of all the latest episodes and never miss any, all you got to do is click in the show notes below to subscribe to our free weekly newsletter. I decided to make this episode because I was talking to my coach the other day, and we were talking about something that upset me, not recently, but just the past example. So it wasn't that emotionally charged, but it was just coming up in discussion. And I mentioned to him about when I shared a vulnerable story of someone and they didn't reply, even though they asked me to share it with them. And I felt really hurt. I felt a little bit ignored because I was quite close to them. And then I realized that I had said the words, uh, don't worry about doing a long, complicated response. I know I'm sharing a lot with you, right? And then yet I also got hurt by the fact they didn't respond. I realized talking to him, and that's why he's a really good coach, that actually I unconsciously had said, don't worry about giving me a response. And what I meant was, you don't have to worry about going into a long, complex answer. I just would have appreciated a reply. So in that moment, I had almost dismissed what I needed. I wasn't speaking my truth. And even though it was over text, I should have said something along the lines of, okay, I'm going to share something very vulnerable. I would appreciate if you could acknowledge this, or better words maybe. But I don't need you to send me a long like diagnosis. I just want you to hear me. So I call myself out for this. And times when I've told my truth, when like even if it's like created a little bit of conflict or argument, that's when I felt most alive. Not that I'm intentionally going out and creating arguments, but when I've really expressed my truth, that's when I felt so alive. So I want to talk about how you can start speaking your truth and being honest and speaking up for yourself. Because a lot of the time, I've held myself back and it doesn't do me any favors. And ask yourself, if you hold your truth or yourself back, how does that help you? How does that feel for you? Okay. So here are some steps, right? So know your boundaries. Be really clear on what are your boundaries like. What do you want from people and what do you want from yourself? Because if you don't know them, how do you know if someone's violated your boundaries or not, right? Well, there's usually like a feeling, but then actually acknowledging that for next time when you feel like, oh, that really hurts me, and then making a note of it, you can tell someone the next time, right? Or you can even tell that person, you did this and that actually really hurt me, in the right appropriate way, of course. Now, what makes you feel good? Like, and list all the things that make you feel good, and then add more of them to your life. And then ask yourself, what is out of line for you? And then remove more of those things from your life. And then make sure you're reading the first three things I just said. So make sure you're reading your boundaries very regularly. Make sure you're reading what makes you feel good very regularly, and making sure you read what feels out of line very regularly. Okay, just before we get on to the final point to end with, I just want to mention that if you want to keep on top of every single episode or up to date with the podcast, and also get a free weekly confidence tip, all you got to do is click in the link in the show notes below and you can subscribe to the free weekly newsletter. My final point is, study someone who is so certain, self-certain, so confident in themselves. Listen to them every single day, because when you start listening to information and taking something on board, I found it started to become more of me. It started to impact my psychology. So if you're really struggling with this, listen to someone who's got that certainty and belief in themselves, and start listening to them on a more regular basis. So that's what I got for you today. I appreciate you for being here. You're improving other people's lives by being the best you. And remember, you are in control of your own self-esteem and confidence.